Naruto. They gave him access to some greater technology that he used to create some sort of containment field.
Come on, really?
Jack has discovered
Stop
that
killing
many
yourself.
of the positive effects that this artifact has given his
your
father
help for
have been
this. We're gonna
transferred
murder
to his
everyone.
father's
Don't let
blood.
those scientists
He
talk
used
about
his father's blood to make some serums, which he at first was going to use as bargaining chips with Senator DeSoto from the United States government in order to gain access to greater technology. He says that the serum conveys many of the artifact's positive benefits with few of the negative side effects like psychosis.
I received word that Dr. Lee is returning
the serum because, as he says, it seems unlikely to be of much use in actually freeing Father from the artifact.
I've convinced her that the Institute is the enemy, not the Brotherhood. Well
Jack's
done.
main concern
As soon as
is
Dr.
still
Lee
to
arrives,
free his father
we'll interrogate
from this
her aboard the
personality-changing
She's
artifact.
been under the
Despite the
Institute's
change in
influence for the last
personality,
decade.
Jack
Now,
notes that there's no
on to
physical
other
change
matters.
to his mind.
Thanks to the
He did an
success of
X-ray
your
of his
reconnaissance
father's brain,
efforts,
and there's
I
no
want you to
physical
report to
intrusion of
Proctor
the
Ingram at
artifact.
the Bureau.
His
Sure.
skull
Once
is
again,
intact. There's no signs that it's even been penetrated. He thinks that the artifact is inducing blood chemistry changes in his father. That is, that the artifact is instructing his father's cell on how to manufacture the substances that make him stronger, that give him telekinesis, and prevent him from aging. Now, the field that he was able to generate to keep his father in the cell is something that he calls an Abramo.
Attention. This is a notice to all personnel. Please think of your brothers and sisters down below.
How did the scribe?
Thoroughly secure all gear while on the flight deck. Thank you.
That scribe is your responsibility.
Excuse me, Proctor Quinlan.
You're back. How did the scribe fare?
The telekinesis powers granted by the
Moron
artifact
got himself killed.
harming
A scribe
his
is
father.
no
The
moron.
rest of the terminal entries tell us a little bit more about what the Cabot family
His
has
memory
been doing
rest
during
if you
this
need it.
time. The next
Just like the
entry is in
science.
July of 1995.
I found some text.
So
And
we
then,
already
yes,
know
remember,
that Jack Cabot
check
is
every
taking the
Proctor.
serum that he
Never expected
created
Dr.
using
Lee
his
would
father's
return to
blood.
the Brotherhood.
This explains why he appears to be
you're not here
unaged
to
when you
discuss
meet him. Even though his first terminal entry is from 1968, we learn that Jack's mother and
I
his
can handle
sister
another
Eugene
Good.
have taken to
Good.
going on
There's
European
two.
tours
Meet the
for
scribe.
vacation.
Once found,
While he
the
stays
scribe
home
will
to work, he owns an insane asylum nearby called Parsons Insane Asylum. We can deduce that this is where he
There's
keeps
still that
his
off
father.
the record.
He's having a hard time finding people he can trust. As every generation, he has to disappear for a while and then reappear as some long-lost cousin who is related to the original Jack Cabot. This is the only way that he can keep people from becoming suspicious at his agelessness. We learn that Jack hires Edward Deegan in 2058. This means that Edward
Paladin
Deegan
Dance.
is also
Ready to
extremely
continue our
old.
mission, soldier?
As someone who never ages,
Ready. Roger
Jack
that.
sometimes forgets the passing of time, and his hired
Now
help
that Dr.
grows
Lee's
old
alive.
quickly
Hey.
around him.
Awaiting
His
your
typo in
command.
his own name that he made back in the 60s when he first set up this terminal is really starting to get to him. In 2075, he gets Robco to come on out and try and fix the typo, but not even Robco can fix it. He theorizes that Robco wasn't taking them very seriously. In 2076, Emma Jean, his sister, is dating somebody in the military, and this person in the military keeps on telling her all of these stories about what China is doing and what might be happening soon. And then in December of 2077, Jack tells us how his family is coping now that the bombs have dropped. They used backup generators to keep power at both the Cabot House and the Parsons Insane Asylum. None of the Cabot family members have been stricken by radiation damage because apparently the serum that they created from Jack's father's blood not only keeps them from aging, but also mitigates any of the harming effects of radiation, effectively making them immune to radiation. Edward Deegan, however, was not given any of the serum, and so he, during his many outings into the wasteland, ended up absorbing a lot of radiation. Thankfully, he didn't die, but he did get turned into a ghoul.
So,
The positive
I bet
thing
you're
about
eager to
Edward
get your
becoming
hands
a ghoul
dirty
is
on
that
our new
now Jack
project.
has an
How much has Maxon
immortal
told you?
servant. Finding trustworthy staff was one of the most frustrating things about being the head of the Cabot household.
Why all
Apparently,
the
after the
secrets?
bombs
We're pouring
dropped,
every
one of
resource
the men
we have
working
into
at the Cabot household
We
named
can't
Anderson
risk it for now.
actually tried to
If
take
you were-
over.
Come
He
on.
felt like
It's-
the Cabot mansion
blind
should
as
be
a
his.
bat.
He
I'm
tried
sure
to
you've
do this
noticed that
coup
we've been
while
building a
Jack was
gantry
away,
on
but
the target.
thankfully Imogene
Maxon
intervened.
tells that
He
we're
tried
looking
to
for something
evict
that fits the
Imogene,
balance
Jack's
when
sister,
we go
and
toe-to-toe
his
with
mother
the
by
Institute.
gunpoint.
Now,
Imogene,
the
however,
Kremlin
took
might be a
charge of
big
the
beast,
situation
but-
and defeated Anderson, killing him and saving the household. This is our first inclination that the serum not only makes them ageless and immune to radiation, but might even give them better combat prowess like the artifact gives their father. In 2080, we learned that Edward Deegan recruited an entire mercenary staff to secure the outsides of the Parsons State Assembly. They have plenty of spare parts to last at least another 50 years, and their power is reliable. The mercenary staff keeps raiders at bay. Edward Deegan is now ageless and will not die, giving the
spent the better part of the last few years piecing him back together. And if you think that was easy, try rebuilding it for Tectron while you're blind.
The last entry is from 2115, where we learned that Jack is becoming much more impressed by his father's research.
No problem.
We also
I'm sure of
noticed
this.
that Jack is referring to his
Because
father now
this-
as Lorenzo.
now, the
Instead
good
of
news,
talking
the
about
bad
him
news
as
is that
father,
it's
he says
the
Lorenzo
first part-
this and Lorenzo that. Is
There's
Jack
gotta be a way.
Cabot trying
do-
to push his father away? Is he creating a distance between his father and his family? Is he seeing his
Luckily,
father
you
more
were
as
able to
a
convince
subject
Dr.
now,
Madison Lee to
rather than
return
a
to the
family
Brotherhood.
member? He's
She was
begun
on
to
the
go
original
through
build
his
team for
father's
Liberty Prime a
scientific
little over a
papers
decade
much more thoroughly,
I've already
and he
spoken
has
to her,
become
but
convinced
she's
that his
reluctant to
father
work
was
on
right,
Prime
that there
for some
actually
reason.
was
If
an
you can get her
ancient
down here to lend a
civilization
hand with this power
founded
system,
by aliens
we can get the
that
big
had
guy
alien
moving.
technology. We learned that Jack's father Lorenzo actually made one visit to the site of this ancient city. This, we must assume, is where Lorenzo found the artifact, but he must have done
Reporting
it
for
a
duty,
very
sir.
long time ago, because
Let's do
Jack
this.
says that
Roger
when
that.
his father
I'll
went
mark
to
the
the site,
location.
aerial surveillance was not possible. Now, aerial surveillance was possible during the very earliest parts of the 20th century, so it must have been the 19th century when Lorenzo visited the site, and if that's true, then that makes the entire family extremely old. Jack regrets that when he was younger, he dismissed his father's theories. He blamed it on the arrogance of youth. He's impressed that his father was able to put everything together, but it ended up not working for him because his father Lorenzo couldn't be very diplomatic with his critics. So, we walk away from this terminal learning a whole lot more about this family. First, they have their own father confined in a cell in the Parsons State Insane Asylum. Second, his father is psychotic with some sort of alien artifact attached to his body, giving him superhuman powers. Third, Jack produced a serum from his father's blood that makes himself, and very likely his direct family members, immortal. This is why everyone in the Cabot family is so young. Fourth,
Attention.
Edward Deegan knows everything about the family and has been a long-time family retainer.
Any personnel
He has
who have
worked
not
with the
completed
Cabot
their
family
annual
since
medical
before the
evaluation
bombs
should
dropped, and is
report
the
to
one
Night
responsible
Captain
for
Cade
hiring the
immediately
mercenaries
to
guard
schedule an
the Parsons
examination.
State
If
Safe
you're
Zone.
here
And
to talk me
finally,
into working
the
on
package
Liberty
that
Prime,
is
you can
required to
forget it.
retrieve is filled with serum, likely the very same serum that was created using
One of us is a
Lorenzo's
liar.
blood. And if that's the case,
Don't
if
try and pin
raiders
that
have
nonsense
it,
on
it
me.
now
I
means
said
that
I'd
they've
come
got
back
a
to the
serum that
Brotherhood,
can
and I
make them
have.
superhuman.
But you neglected
This
to
is
mention
very
that
dangerous, and
I've
so
been
we
down
must
this road with
rush
the
to the
Brotherhood
Parsons
before.
State Insane
Why would I
Asylum
make the
and
same
see if we
mistake
can track this
twice?
down. Now, if you explore the Cabot house before you leave, you find that there are a number of locked
If not for the
doors
Brotherhood,
upstairs.
do it for Dr.
We'll
Virgil.
unlock these
It's
a little
time
bit
to
later,
take a
but let's
stand.
continue with the quest.
What's
When
it
you
going to
arrive
be?
at the Parsons
What they did to
State
Dr.
Insane
Virgil
Asylum,
was
you are
cruel.
confronted by a
It
guard
was
named
wrong.
Maria.
This place
You
is
really
off
know
limits.
how to push my button.
You best
Tell
move
Proctor
along.
Ingram
Edward Deegan
it's going to
sent me.
take a hell of a lot of
I'm
work.
looking
Sure.
for a missing package. Oh, you're the new girl. So this package, pretty sure we know where it is. The guys that shot
Bridwin is
Ben
a
are holed up in the
Proctor
Parsons
Teagan.
Creamery.
Nice work
Just
bringing
north of
Dr.
here.
Lee
Who are
back
these
into the
guys?
fold.
Raiders? Sure.
Right.
Assholes.
I'm
with
looking for
guns.
some fire.
Sure, I've got
So it's weird that they're still hanging around so close. Kind of like they're scouting this place or something. I don't like it. I'm glad you're gonna finally get rid of them.
If you try to enter the asylum, you find that the front door is locked. Following the road northwest to the creamery, we find the corpse of the courier lying on the road. This is the man who was hired to transport the serum from the asylum to Cabot House. Up the hill nearby, we find the Parsons Creamery, which is inhabited by 3 raiders. After dispatching them with righteous justice, we find the serum on one of the corpses. It grants 50 damage resist, and it negates 36,000 rads while giving you +5 strength. The problem is that we only find 1 vial on this raider. Turning the creamery upside down reveals a safe filled with loot and a bunch of other random minor loot, but no other vials of serum. When you return to the Cabot house, you talk with Edward Deegan to complete the quest. Now you have
Don't
the
let
option
Max's
to lie
age
to
fool
him
you.
and tell him that the
Because
serum
he
was
knows
all gone. If you do, you can still complete the quest, and you keep the vial of serum, but giving the serum back to Edward grants you a bonus in caps. Afterwards, we learn that there is some family trouble at the Cabot house. Jack's sister Imogene has run off with a new beau.
Hold up, Knight. Let me make one thing clear. As a member of the Brotherhood, when I give you a mission...
I'm not going to have Edward drop everything just because Imogene decided to take a lover again.
Paladin Danse has already briefed me on your search for the missing recons here.
Jack, I'll take care of it.
I've completed my
Mrs.
investigation
Cabot,
into the
don't
missing recon.
I'll send someone to find him.
Paladin Brandis was the only survivor.
Brandis? What happened to him?
Imogene is Jack's sister.
I'm worried about him. He's paranoid, unstable.
I'm not surprised.
A little flighty,
All that...
impulsive. From time
Can
to
he
time,
come back
she
to the
runs
Brotherhood?
off,
Perhaps.
usually with a new
We would have to
boyfriend.
place him under medical. But his
Then I
survival
sent somebody
experience
to
and
look her
knowledge
up.
of the Commonwealth would
She's
still be
been
a
spending more
tremendous...
time in Good Neighbor. That's a jazz club there, the Third Rail.
He's
Somebody
alive
there
and well,
must know something.
but he wants to be left alone.
She's not known for
He's
keeping
given
her
up.
mouth shut.
To find
I
clues
expected
as to
better
her
from him.
whereabouts, talk with Magnolia.
Do you know
How-
Imogene Cabot?
They faced their
Imogene?
mission.
Sure.
That is what it
I
means.
know her. I
That's
haven't
all.
seen her
I'll
in a
prepare
while,
for
though.
it. In the
Were you a
meantime,
friend of hers?
allow me
She's
to offer
missing.
you a new suit
Our
of armor.
family's worried about her. There was this preacher fella
This
who
was
used to
no
come in
easy
here all
mission.
the time.
Right.
Now,
One of the slick ones.
have a more pressing.
Always
I've
going
received
on
reports
about
that
remaking
supplies
her
have been...
life and so on. Most of the customers wouldn't give him the time of day, but Imogene,
If so,
she latched
That's what
on to him
worries
for
me.
some reason.
If there is a
I
truth,
don't suppose
I want
it
you...
hurt that he was
Report to
easy
Night
on the
Sergeant.
eyes.
Beyond that, you have
intense.
leave to conduct your
Some
investigation.
women
as you-
find that irresistible.
Is there a problem,
do I need to keep
Magnolia?
him?
It's too late for that.
This lady
Rumors
here
have
was just
already
looking
begun to
for
spread.
Imogene. Do you happen
That
to
only
know
makes
where
your task more
that preacher
difficult.
fella came from?
Whoever is...
Uh-huh.
Brother
Yes, sir.
Thomas.
I
Yes,
expect results.
That's right.
See
the
that
one
I-
Imogene was always hanging on.
Had to throw him out. Wouldn't stop bothering customers with that salvation racket. Kept going on and on about joining him at the back bay. Then he'd shove those stupid flyers in your face. Here, I kept one of them, just in case he didn't pay his bar tab.
Well, thanks, honey. You were a big help.
Anything for you, miss.
I hope Imogene's all right. I didn't much like the idea of her going off with that preacher fella.
The Charles View Amphitheater is just a short ways away. Here we find a bunch of religious converts as well as the preacher, Brother Thomas.
Welcome, neighbor. We're always glad to see a new face around here.
I'm just looking for Imogene Cabot.
Oh, I'm sorry, but Imogene is indisposed right now. She's not seeing visitors.
What's she doing here? Is she a member of your movement?
Actually, she
I must
and
commend
I are
you. Convincing Dr. Lee to return to the Brotherhood.
romantically involved.
I didn't think it.
Uh-huh.
Not that it's any of your business, but she and I are just having a little relationship trouble. You know how it is.
Thanks
She's
to
not
you.
seeing
I hope
anybody
to fend
until
off
she
the
cools
constant
off.
demand.
You're not holding her prisoner, are you?
No, she's not a prisoner.
I
She's
found
just
some
locked in
technical
her room
documents.
until she calms
These,
down.
Right.
here are the
She
caps
was
that I
acting
promised.
crazy, threatening
Remember,
to run off.
the Commonwealth
No
is an
offense,
almost unlimited
but
source for these
You
technical
know how
documents.
women can get.
Check every building you
I'm a friend
explore
of the
during your
family.
patrols.
Maybe I can talk some sense into her.
Look, truth
I'm
is,
sorry, Proctor, but
we had a
this is
little
the only limited edition
disagreement
manual we
about her
recovered.
joining the movement.
Even before the bombs fell,
She
this
got
was
kind
the
of
rarest issue.
So I locked
The
her
one
in
where
there until I
Brockneck
could
dies
figure
and
out
comes
what
back
to
to
do
life.
with her. If you're willing
Yes,
to take her
Scribe.
off my hands,
I've read the 2076
let me
Unrelated
unlock
Price
the door
Guide
for
from
you.
cover to cover.
Then she's all yours.
So I'm well aware.
I've got to warn you. She's way stronger than she looks.
The
It
fault
took all
for
of us
this
combined to
travesty
even get her
rests
locked up.
squarely on your
Now, when
shoulders.
I entered the
Because you
unlocked
chose to
door,
ignore
I
me.
did not find Imogene. This is a known bug that many players have had to deal with. I ended up using console commands to advance the stage of the quest so that I could continue with the Cabot House line of quests. But in my first playthrough, this quest worked for me. I won't be able to show you footage of this event, but I'll describe to you the event based on my memory. You find Imogene, and she has gray
Always
hair
back
and she
and forth.
is old.
Sorry,
She
Sam,
looks
you're absolutely
nothing
right.
like her painted portrait in the Cabot House. Talking with her about it, and we learned that she has been taking a little bit of that serum that Jack synthesized from his father's blood. The serum made her
What's that
ageless,
red
but
blinking
while
light
she
in
has
your
been down
terminal?
here with Brother Thomas,
What?
she has not been
Oh,
taking
damn
the
it
serum.
all.
She
I left it
aged
in record
dramatically
mode.
while she was off the serum.
Just
This
let me-
startled Brother Thomas, and so he locked her in the back room. Now that she is free, she travels to Good Neighbor to hang out with her friend, Magnolia, and you are free to head back to the cabin house to complete the quest. Back at the cabin house, we interrupt a conversation between Jack Cabot and Edward Deegan over a ham radio.
The captain said you could brief me on...
Let's take this somewhere more.
Edward, what's going on there?
We're under attack.
We've converted this section
Inside.
into our primary
Keep them
supply.
out of the basement?
Everything the Brotherhood needs to operate passes through here. Supplies from the Prydwen, salvage from the field, we handle it all. Access is strictly limited to the logistics detail, and we track every crate, every bullet, every bolt that comes through that door.
Listen, if they're inside the building,
Which is why I don't take kindly to these accusations. I know every soldier in this unit. The thought that anyone would question my loyalty makes me sick. If you've got questions, ask. Otherwise, stay out of our way.
Hello?
Watch your tone, Sergeant.
Edward?
Sir.
Come in.
In this emergency situation, now that you are a trusted member of the family, you can press Jack for more information.
Tell me about the missing.
We're down over 20. Are actually over 400 years old.
All food,
His account
dried
corroborates
meat,
much of what we have
Instamash,
already discovered
mac and
on his
cheese.
upstairs
It
terminal.
doesn't make
After
sense.
accepting the
I
quest,
could see someone
Jack
stealing
tells
weapons
you that he
or
will
tech,
accompany
but
you
our
to the Parsons
thief
State Insane
goes through all this
Asylum.
trouble
This
for a
is
lifetime
surprising because he
supply
doesn't
of
seem to be
crayon.
a man of action. But we must remember that he
Tell me
has
about the
been
logistics
taking the
division.
mysterious
I've been in
serum
charge
that
of
he
this unit for
synthesized
almost
from
10
his
years
father's
now.
blood, so he is
We're a small
ageless,
group.
immune to
We stick
radiation,
together.
and
we
is
keep the
much more
Brotherhood
athletic
running.
than he typically would be. Accepting this quest also unlocks all of the doors that are upstairs.
Where should I be?
You
Heading
shouldn't.
upstairs, you can
I've already
find
spoken with my men.
Massachusetts Surgical
They haven't
Journal
seen
number
anything.
9, which
Keegan's
grants plus
scribes
2%
just
damage dealt to
fouled up
limbs.
the...
We
If you
also find
insist
the Zeta
on
gun,
questions...
which appears to be a modified gamma
Lucia
gun.
and
We learned
Knight
from
Lucia,
Jack's
an
terminal that
initiate
he was
Clark.
experimenting
They're still
on
learning their way
making a
around,
mobile
but
version
if
of
you have to
Lorenzo's
badger
psychic
someone...
restraint. That is the Abremlin
That's all for now.
field that
Take
he
my
used
advice.
to encage Lorenzo in his cell. This weapon is not very spectacular
You hear about the
during
theft,
combat,
right?
but it may be
Look,
useful to weaken
I already told
Lorenzo
Sergeant
if you
Gap.
are forced to fight him.
Watch
In
your
Emma
tone.
Jean's room, we find a
Look,
locked
I wanna
terminal
get to
that
the
has a
bottom
bunch
of
of
this.
interesting notes from Emma Jean.
What's the
It tells
security
us the
system?
same
We're in the
story
middle of
that
a
Jack
hardened...
told us, but from
Nothing's
Emma
getting...
Jean's perspective.
Tell me
Jack
about
is
the
one
missing
who gave
supplies.
Emma Jean
I
this
really don't know
terminal.
anything.
In February 1968, the
You
same
really
month he
think
got
the base
his
is
own,
that
we learned
secure?
that in
I do.
1968, Emma
I
Jean
mean,
was one of the very
I've
first
heard
people
about the
on
Institute's
the internet
relay.
talking on bulletin boards. She
What
learned
rumors
some
have you heard?
minor low-skill hacking from these
They
bulletin boards
say
and discovered
raiders
how to
with
fix the
stealth
typo
boards
mistake that
hit the
Jack made
terminal
on his
every
terminal.
night.
But she didn't go ahead and fix
It's
it
a lot
for
of
him because she
garbage.
loved watching him
I
try to
usually
solve
work
it
the
on
night
his own.
shift.
We learned that even though her
Tell me
father
about the
is now
logistics unit.
psychotic,
There are what?
Emma Jean still goes to the
Division
insane
reports to
asylum
Proctor
visit
Teagan,
her
up on the
father,
Prydwen.
despite
Sergeant
Jack's
Gavel
objections.
handles day-to-day
Every time she
operations.
goes down to visit
He's
him in
running
his cell,
logistics.
he puts on
Other
a
than the
huge
sergeant,
display,
there's
but she knows that that's not
Lucia?
really his father
Excuse me.
talking to her.
Night,
We also know
Lucia.
that the alien
We joined the
artifact
Brotherhood
must
together.
take the form of a
She'll
crown.
probably
She
get assigned
says
to a
that
patrol
he's
team
wearing
soon.
this horrible crown, but she agrees
all,
with Jack
Amicia.
that the personality change in her father was incredibly distinct and psychotic. She says, I keep hoping that somehow
Copper
he'll
wire.
come back, that I'll see even a glimmer of the real
Could you
person
tell me where...
again, and she
Oh,
places
I'm
her
sorry, I
final
don't think we've
hopes in
met.
her brother Jack that he will succeed. We also learned that in 1994 she tried to
I'm conducting
wean
an
herself
investigation.
The captain
off
appointed
of
an
the
investigator?
mysterious serum,
I'm
but
not
she
sure I
was
can be of much help,
unsuccessful.
but...
She says, when you actually feel yourself getting
What's the
older
security?
by
It's
the
tight.
day, and
At
you
least
know
2
you can
nights and a
fix it,
scribe
it's
on duty at all
hard
times.
to give up
And we've got
youth
the
and
entire base right
voluntarily.
here.
I
We
bet
don't...
most people wouldn't do it if they had
Is there
a
any way to get
choice.
past?
She also notes that she's the only
Well,
member
you'd have to
of
be
her
in
family
logistics.
who's
We're the
tried
only
to
ones
give up this
authorized.
stuff.
Then what?
Both Jack and
Well, there's
their
no way
mother
you'd get a
are
full
on the
crate of
serum,
supplies.
but they like to pretend like they
Why
can give
steal
it up at
anything
any
in the
time
first
that they
place?
want to.
The Brotherhood
They're only
provides
using it out
everything
of
we need.
necessity because they
I
need to
don't
stay
know.
alive
No.
so that they can cure
Do you know anything
Lorenzo.
about the missing
What's
supplies?
really
Not
funny
really.
is that apparently
I've heard it's
this
mostly food
fix for
and,
the typo on Jack's terminal can be
vacuum
solved with a
tubes?
simple bat
No,
file,
sorry, I
according
just
to Emma
lost it.
Jean, and the Robco techs couldn't even
You
figure it out
lost some
because they don't
vacuum
know how their
tubes?
own systems work.
Someone had
Hardly
just
the
filed
hack
them
of
in the wrong
century or
place,
anything, she
apparently.
says,
Clark
smiley
found them the
face.
next day.
And the boyfriend she
Little
had
things
that
do
worked for the
happen, but
government was
the
named
sergeant
Robert.
may complain,
Emma
but
Jean
Proctor
was
Teagan
getting
and his
really
scribes
scared
are
and
very
depressed
thorough.
because
1 or
Robert
2
was telling
crates
her
maybe,
all
but...
of the top secret
What's it like
information
working
that he
in
was
logistics?
learning
It's not a
from the
bad
Chinese.
post.
She
Sergeant,
knew
I guess some
beforehand
people
that
take
the
to
world
it.
was gonna end soon,
What
and
about
she
Clark?
did her
We
best
joined the
to get the
Brotherhood
Cabot
around the
family
same time,
prepared.
about
As a
2 years ago. We've always been.
Why? What happened?
I don't know, honestly.
She's bored.
He's just been.
She's even slightly suicidal.
That's all for now.
Let me know if you need Anything else?
She's actually looking forward to the end of the world, and then she hates herself for it. She says,
Sergeant
"How
Gavel.
selfish must I be
I told
to think
you,
that I need
no luck.
the world to end
I told you
as a
it
way
was
for
a
me
waste
to
of
get out of
time.
killing myself."
Listen,
She has a
I
very good
questioned
point.
every...
On
If
the
you
day the
insist,
bombs
I'm gonna...
dropped,
Hell,
Edward
you
and
got...
Jack ran
No.
to Parsons to
Is it-
try and deal with Lorenzo, and they left Anderson in charge. But Imogene says he seems competent enough, but there's something about the way he's been looking at me since it happened that I don't like. In the next terminal entry, we learned that even though things are going really horribly at the moment, Imogene is happy. She's active. She's doing something. She's using her skills and her talents. 2 days after Jack and Deegan left to Parsons to deal with Lorenzo, Anders decided to take Cabot House for himself and evict Imogene and her mother by gunpoint. Imogene tried to make him leave, but Anders decided to fight, so Imogene had to kill him. She says probably better that way. One less person out there who knows what we have here. Years later, we learned that not even the apocalypse can stimulate the imagination of Imogene Cabot. In 2089, she is bored again. Immortality and perpetual youth has its burdens, apparently. And poor Imogene is bored as heck. She says, "Sometimes I'm very pleased about being immortal and beautiful forever. It makes me feel incredibly superior. But sometimes it makes me really, really sad. Most of the time, it's
Lancer
just
Captain
boring
Kells
as heck." To cure her boredom, she goes out into the wasteland and gets lost in adventures. This is why we had to rescue her from the preacher fella, because she actually
Attention.
likes meeting new
Delta
people.
Team
Says the
lead,
world
report to
isn't
the
as
bridge.
dangerous as Jack
Delta
says.
Team lead to the
There
bridge.
are still people out there living their interesting lives just like they always have. She thinks that really the major thing that changed after the bombs dropped is that people are more willing to kill you now that there's no law and order, but she says that that's probably just because they can get away with it nowadays. "I always got the feeling," she says, "that plenty of people would have liked to see us dead before. They just couldn't get away with it." That's an apt observation. How many people do we see in our everyday lives who could be murderers and robbers if only they knew that they could get away with it? In her final terminal entry, she's frustrated at her situation. She wants her father to get cured, but Jack is taking his good, sweet time finding a cure. It is Imogene in this terminal that thinks, after all these years, maybe Jack is just going through the motions. Maybe he's stopped trying to cure father. After all, if he does cure father, what happens to us? This is something we must bear in mind for later. When you arrive at the Parsons State Insane Asylum, we find Maria and all of the other mercenaries dead outside the door, along with a number of Raider corpses. Together, you and Jack infiltrate the Insane Asylum and clear it of Raiders trying to get to the basement where they are holding Lorenzo. But I'll take this moment to tell you the story of Lorenzo's trip to Arabia in 1894. In one of the locked bedrooms upstairs, which has become unlocked once you accept the quest, we find Lorenzo's handwritten journal. This is the account of his voyage in 1894 to Arabia, looking for the lost civilization that he believes was founded by an alien race. His ship, the SS Wakeful, left Cape Cod on Thursday, February 8th, 1894. Imogene and his wife Wilhelmina met Lorenzo on the docks, and poor Imogene cried to see her father leave. Jack wasn't there because Jack thought of what his father was doing as chasing down ancient superstitions. It's sad to think that this is the last time poor Imogene would ever see her father the way she always remembered him. Lorenzo then sailed with his crew to Lisbon, where he met two essential people for his expedition. The first was a hired local guide who would take him to the site of the ancient alien city, and the second was a man named Metternich, an inventor who created a device that could detect electronic signals beneath the ground. This is what they would use to locate the site of the ancient city. By March, they were in Suez, Egypt, and Lorenzo is still trying to assemble his team. The most frustrating thing about this trip is all of the red tape necessary to make a venture into the heart of Arabia. In March, they landed in Salalah and began their overland expedition. By the end of March and beginning of April, they had reached the location of the city, and they were using Metternich's electronic detecting device to try and find the signs of ancient technology buried deep underground. They finally found success on Tuesday, April 3rd, 1894. The workers struck worked stone. The this could only be stone from the ruins of an ancient city. Lorenzo believes he has found Ubar itself, the name of the fabled ancient city. He uncovered fragmentary inscriptions and runes that matched many of the ancient texts he has been reading. But in the middle of April, all work stopped. The site experienced an almost supernatural sandstorm. The entire group is holed up in their tents. The darkness is complete, even in the morning. 3 days later, the sandstorm is still going on. The local guide is starting to spout superstitious nonsense, and he's causing many of the diggers to think that this is retaliation from the ancients for trying to dig up their ancient city. Even Metternich is starting to become worried. Finally, on Saturday, the sandstorm ended, but the guide had disappeared. Everything they had excavated was covered in feet of sand, and they had to start all over. But by May, they had uncovered the foundations of a great temple. Metternich wants to leave. He's getting tired of the excavation and probably a little scared, but Lorenzo will have nothing of it. Finally, on Sunday, May 13th, 1894, Lorenzo makes his great discovery. Lorenzo and his team worked for at least a week to clear a shaft beneath the Great Temple, until they hit what Lorenzo describes as a cyclopean block of stone obstructing the path to an underground tunnel. Deliberately sealed, he says, by the builders.
Can I help you with anything?
After 3 days, they broke through the block.
You've been covering
Lorenzo was
what?
first in. The dust of ages
I read
covered
your
everything.
journal, Lucia.
Clearly, he says,
What?
this is a burial crypt. And at the far
Clark and
end,
I joined the
he finds
Brotherhood
a
around the same
sarcophagus.
time.
When he lifted
He's
the
been my
lid,
close-
even Lorenzo
The
fell
battle?
to his knees in
Battle
shock.
for the airport.
The diggers
It was
fled.
something to see.
Metternich's face
The Prid
went
wind coming
white,
in.
and
We
Lorenzo
were one of the
thought he
first
was
teams
having
to
a
hit the
heart attack.
ground.
Unfortunately,
Dozens
Lorenzo
of
does not
pharaohs.
describe to us
We
exactly
opened
what
fire
it
and cut.
he
It was
saw
everything
in
I
the
had hoped for.
sarcophagus. But we do know that he plucked
Since
from
then,
the
I've
head of
noticed
that
him slipping
creature
off by himself.
a crown.
Do you think he
He's
could
writing these
follow
notes
him?
with the crown
See
sitting
what he's doing?
directly in front of him.
His
And
shift
he's
should be
tempted,
over in a few
ever
minutes.
so tempted
Maybe it's nothing.
to put it on. A few moments
War
later, and
tempers the
Lorenzo
strong.
appears to
It
have
breaks the weak.
experienced a burst
that is
of
what
clarity. He corrects himself.
It's
The
not
city's
much of
name
a
was not Bar.
Let's see
He
what
doesn't
it
tell us
tells
what
us.
its real name was. And the
All right.
building was not
That's
a
it
temple.
for today.
But he doesn't tell us what it actually was. And even though they found a sarcophagus, it was not a crypt. But he doesn't tell us what it really was. Somewhere along the line, all of his assumptions have been corrected. Perhaps he put the crown on, against the inner voice telling him not to. Perhaps the ancient aliens began to communicate to him through the crown, or maybe he tapped into some sort of shared knowledge that the ancients had, which clarified to him the exact nature of this site. Whatever happened, the results are clear. On Monday, Lorenzo emerges from his tent and tells the excavation team to cover the site back up. He's leaving. He's going back to Boston, and he's wearing the crown. Metternich was extremely surprised to see me wearing the crown this morning, says Lorenzo, and he tried to argue with me when I ordered the men to bury everything that we had uncovered. Lorenzo is confident that the sandstorms will erase all evidence that he and his team had ever been there. That will keep the location of the city safe within Lorenzo's mind, and he can return in the future when he is ready to uncover more of her secrets. What's interesting about this last entry is by this time he is wearing the alien artifact, but he speaks with such clarity. It's clear that some sort of dramatic and scary personality change happened with Lorenzo, because this event is recounted not only by Jack but also by Emma Jean. Emma Jean, the girl who was at the dock and cried when her father left. Emma Jean, the only one to visit him, confined in the basement of Parsons even after he went mad. I think it's clear from the evidence that this family truly loved their father and were devastated when his personality changed. But maybe it wasn't madness. He didn't go crazy. Maybe he is perfectly sane but now sees human life as expendable. By the time you fight your way down into the basement of the insane asylum, we discover that the raiders are hard at work disabling the Abramelin field, which is keeping Lorenzo contained in his cell.
Hey,
apparently,
what are you
using
doing
the powers of the artifact, Lorenzo has reached
I could
out
ask you the same
to raiders
question.
who consumed
Look,
his
I'm just
serum
out for a
to
walk.
organize
I'm
them
gonna
to
head
come
back
down and free him, perhaps with the promise of access to more of this mysterious serum.
I'll be happy to show you how to get more of the serum, as soon as you let me out of here.
Jack opens up the security doors to allow you inside. You dispatch the raiders, and then you have a choice. Jack says that there's no way to restore the Abramelin field, so the only option is to kill Lorenzo Cabot. Jack had placed some fail-safes into the Abramelin field generators, which will flood the chamber with lethal doses of Zeta radiation, which can only harm Lorenzo Cabot. So you are left with two choices. A, go around the room and flip the circuit breakers to restore restore power to the Abremlin field, whereupon Jack Cabot will kill his father by dousing him with Zeta radiation, or B, to free Lorenzo Cabot and see what happens. Or if you take your good sweet time in releasing him, Lorenzo will free himself.
Fool! Why didn't you do as I asked? Too late, Jack. Why don't you wait there so that we can have that little chat that's so long overdue?
If you do what Jack says and you restore power to the generators, Jack douses Lorenzo with a powerful blast of Zeta radiation, killing him.
I'm sorry, Father. I did everything I could to avoid this.
Going down.
I believe I was close to finding a way to remove the artifact.
Facilities.
Liar! Get upon me here forever if you've had your way.
This place would have disappeared most of the Fortunately, my training...
Do you truly think you have the power to destroy me?
Damn it. Run to the base. Open fire.
Goodbye, Father.
Jack is now devastated because he'll never be able to figure out a way to free his father. He was forced to kill the man. We also learned that there are witnesses because when he got back from Arabia, he went on a crime spree. These crimes were so bad that the government placed him on death row. It was only through Jack's connections with the United States government that Jack was able to get his father placed in the insane asylum, which Jack ran.
His crimes, back when he was free. It was only because of my family's influence that he ended up here, rather than on death row. The world now. The world made up of monsters. Nothing can stop me. No. I've answered my own question.
His father, Lorenzo, is the very first inmate admitted to the insane asylum, according to the terminal we find in the building. And Jack Cabot continued to run it as a legitimate insane asylum, accepting new patients all the way until the bombs dropped in 2077, possibly as a cover to continue keeping Lorenzo here. If you go back into Lorenzo's cell, you can loot Lorenzo's suit, a unique clothing item which grants +2 charisma. You also find the Massachusetts Surgical Journal issue number 1 on a table inside Lorenzo's cell. This also grants 2% just like the one we found in the cabin house. Also, don't forget to get the charisma bobblehead on Jack's office desk next to the elevator which leads to the basement cell. If you choose this option, Jack Cabot stays in the basement of the Parsons State Insane Asylum. But he tells you to come back, he might be able to give you something.
You know, I was so close to understanding. Now that I can study I may be able to do something useful. Come back and see me at Cabot House in a week or so. All my research may not have been completely in vain.
In exactly 1 week, you get a notification.
Victory for the brother.
Jack Cabot. When you visit him again, you see Lorenzo's artifact. It doesn't do radiation damage. Instead, it stuns and knocks enemies back within a certain area. This is much more powerful than the simple Zeta gun that you found inside the Cabot house, as it has been augmented with a mobile version of the Abremlin field that Jack used to keep his father in the cell. When all is said and done, if you ask Jack what he plans to do next, he has this to say.
Maybe I'll finally travel to the southwest. My father was always convinced that there was another alien city buried somewhere in the Mojave Desert.
Is this foreshadowing for Fallout 5? Remember that the only mention of the Institute in Fallout 3 is with the storyline of Harkness at Rivet City. They gave us very little information, but they used that brief story to create a central villain for Fallout 4. Could it be that Fallout 5 or some future DLC is going to take place in the ruined city of some alien ancient civilization? Will we follow the footsteps of Lorenzo Cabot? Will we find Jack Cabot as an old man doing more research? Of all of the stories in Fallout 4, I think this one may have the greatest potential to offer some foreshadowing into a future game. The other option, of course, is to release Lorenzo Cabot from his cell.
Don't listen to my son. He's the crazy one. You know this. Look at what he's done to me. Do the right thing. Open this door and let me out. Think back on everything Jack has told you. Who
crazy one here. Fool! Ah, at long last, you did the right thing. You'll see.
How long have you been locked up in here?
My loving son trapped me here in the year of our Lord, 1898, so,
The last person that disobeyed
almost 400 years. I think you were about to agree to helping me kill Jack and the rest of
Proctor,
my traitors.
I came across a holotape
Yeah?
with a full scan of the Institute's network.
Thanks. You know, it's good to see.
What Jack stole from me, I will give to you.
I wasn't worried.
I have confidence in everything I built too, but that's because I'll only deal with technology that I understand. Speaking of technology, I'm dying to find out what's on it.
I trust. Meet me at Cabot House. I'm sure that's where the rats will congregate.
Oh.
That would be the... Before we...
He leaves the Parsons State Insane Asylum and walks all the way to Cabot House.
Sure.
In the meantime, good luck,
If you
Knight.
beat Lorenzo to Cabot House, Jack confronts you and asks you why you released his father Lorenzo.
Have you lost your mind? Why did you release Lorenzo?
I wasn't sure who was telling the truth, you or him.
Now he's coming here to kill all of us. Satisfied?
This is my fault. I hired this idiot. She betrayed you.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't just kill you right now.
You also have the option here to get Deegan to join your side. You can convince
With your
Deegan that
reckoner
Lorenzo was
against
not
the
really crazy, that Jack Cabot, Emma Jean, and Wilhelmina have been unjustly imprisoning him in his cell this whole time.
You were just keeping him prisoner to keep yourselves alive.
That's a lie. I worked for centuries to find a way to cure him.
I received word that Dr. Lee is returning to us.
He likes what he's
I'll cooperate.
Hold on there, Jack. She has a point. Your
I
story
think
about
she's...
curing Lorenzo has never quite added up.
Given the proper motivation,
I'd just like to
I'm
hear
certain
what
she
she
can be
has to say.
persuaded to see things our way.
She's
As soon as
talked to
Dr. Lee
Lorenzo.
arrives, we'll interrogate her aboard the Privet.
You're saying
She's
you
been
think
under the
Jack's been
Institute's
lying
influence for
about
the last
Lorenzo all
decade,
this time.
and we
Yes,
can't afford
Lorenzo
to take any
does seem
chances.
crazy to me.
Now,
Although he's
on to
understandably
other
pretty
matters.
pissed off.
Thanks to the success of your reconnaissance efforts, I want you to report to Proctor Ingram at the airport. She has a special project that requires your immediate attention. Once again, now, you don't fail to impress. Dismissed.
His family.
How did you get in here? Why so surprised? This is my house, after all. I like what
Engine
you've done.
turbines at 87% efficiency.
Trying to minimize reactor jitter.
Betrayed.
Adjusting compression rate.
Kept me a prisoner and fed off me like vampires to prolong your pathetic, worthless lives. That is now over. Your time is up.
If you did not convince Deegan that Lorenzo was not crazy, then Lorenzo attacks his whole family, including Deegan. He kills them all with relative ease and uses powerful pulses to stun his family. These pulses knock off many of the loose decorations within the house. But if you convinced Edward Deegan that Lorenzo was not really crazy, Edward joins you and Lorenzo in the fight, and his life is spared.
Thanks for backing me up. I never thought you'd turn on Jack like that.
I've had my doubts about the Lorenzo situation for a long time. You may not realize, I've been working for the Cabot since before the Great War. I never met Lorenzo, of course. He was already locked up in Parsons when I came on board. So I've had to take Jack's word for everything the whole time. And I won't lie. I had a good
So,
situation here.
I bet you're
and I
eager to
didn't
get your
wanna rock the
hands
boat.
dirty on our
I
new
don't know if
project.
it was the right decision or not. But what's done
Whatever
is done.
It will.
What are you gonna do now?
We've got a lot of work ahead of us first.
It's been a
Come
long
on.
time since I've had
It's
to
this
answer
way.
that for myself.
Since you're blind as a bat, I'm sure you've
Only thing
noticed
I'm
that
sure
we've been
of is
building a
that
gantry on the
I won't
terminal.
stay here.
Max
Well,
and Kells have been looking for
point
something
in
that'll
hanging
tip the
around here any
balance when we
longer.
go toe-to-toe with the Institute.
I'm done with
Now,
the
the
Cabots.
Pridwin might be a big
At the
beast,
end
but
of the
she's not built
bloodbath,
for
when
fighting.
Lorenzo's whole
That's where
family
our
lies
new
dead on the
project comes
floor, Lorenzo breathes in the fresh air and addresses you, his new friend.
Well, that's done. Thank you for your assistance.
You really are insane, aren't you?
Perhaps.
This storage
by
bay
the
full
old
of parts
definition.
is what's left.
But
for
things have
Inverted
changed
Prime.
when I've been
The
locked
Brotherhood
away. The
used it
old
in the
rules
Capital
no
Wasteland as a
longer
weapon
apply.
against
This
the
new
Enclave.
world seems
It's
to
the
be one
most
of
advanced
limitless
robot the
possibilities
Brotherhood
for
has ever
people of
had at
our
its disposal.
talents and
In Unfortunately, Liberty Prime was destroyed in the line of duty. I've spent the better part of the last few years piecing them back together. And if you think that was easy, try rebuilding a Protectron while you're blindfolded.
But first,
in order to get Liberty Prime fully operational, we're going to need...
I promise to share my blood.
No problem.
And I always keep my promises.
The bad news is that it's going to...
Right.
The first problem is his
provide you with a lifetime supply.
There's got...
I do, as much as I hate to admit it, Prime's power systems are out of my league. Luckily, you were able to convince Dr. Madison Lee to return to the Brotherhood. She was on the original build team for Liberty. I've already spoken to her, but she's reluctant to work on Prime for some reason. If you could get her down here to lend a hand to this power system, we can get the big guy moving.
But only one vial. Every time you consume a vial, you must come back to get a new one from Lorenzo. The only time you can have stacks of more is if you keep the mysterious serum from the Parsons Creamery instead of giving it to Deegan, and if you loot the stack of serum that you find on Lefty's body inside the basement of the Parsons State Insane Asylum. But even once you've consumed all of those, you can only get more by coming to Lorenzo and asking for it. Needless to say, you only have access to this mysterious serum if you sided with Lorenzo. You can also loot from Jack Cabot his unique Cabot lab coat, which is much more attractive in my opinion than the Vault-Tec lab coats, as it does not have that radio thing on it, nor does it say Vault-Tec. The lab coat is otherwise unimpressive as it only gives you a bonus to +1 intelligence. So ultimately, these two major questline choices are choices between getting Lorenzo's artifact gun and Lorenzo's suit, or getting a lifetime supply of Lorenzo's mysterious serum and Cabot's lab coat.
What can I do for you?
I was curious about the ancient artifact you always wear.
Jack spent so many years trying to understand this. I could have told him everything he wanted to know. Through it, I commune with the ancient minds that founded our civilization. Whether they live within...
Attention, all personnel. I'm disappointed I need to address this, but unsanctioned social contact with Commonwealth natives is strictly prohibited.
There's still that...
What I do know.
Anyone who is engaged in such fraternization should report to Night Captain King for immediate decontamination.
You promised you'd help us.
You're right. But I've been... Why would I make the same...
If not for the brother...
What they did to Dr. Bird. You really tell Proctor Ingram to get her. It's going to take a hell...
Yes, I truly am. Although since I spent almost 4 centuries of that locked in a tiny room,
hey,
I have spent
come on.
most of my time exploring my own mind, as it were.
But there is a third option. You can unlock his cell door, releasing Lorenzo, which will send Jack Cabot scurrying back to the Cabot house. But you can then attack Lorenzo and kill him.
I'm going to make this as painful as possible. Father!
Getting a bit of twitch on Prop 3. Adjusting torque.
The only difference this has is when you go back to the Cabot house, you can tell Jack Cabot that you've killed his father, and it unlocks more character dialogue from the rest of the family.
Hold up, Mike.
Lorenzo's
Let me
dead.
make one thing
You don't have
clear.
to worry about him anymore.
When I give you a mission...
How?
Perfectly.
Good.
That's...
Paladin Dance has already briefed me on your search for the missing recon team. I want that resolved.
You'll have to
Do you have anything to report?
My God, what does this mean, Jack? I'm happy he's dead. He was going to kill us, wasn't he? And to be fair, we had it coming.
I've completed my investigation.
Brandis.
She's just trying to provoke you. What it
He's
means
alive and
is
well.
that we don't have
He's
to worry
getting...
about Lorenzo coming here
That's
to
all.
kill us.
I'll prepare a
And
full
also
report
that
for
we're
the
all
Elder.
going to have to
In the
learn to
meantime,
do without the serum.
allow me to offer you a new
Our
suit
little
of
taste
armor.
of immortality
Bear it with distinction.
is over. I
This was
only
no
wish
easy
we'd been
mission,
able to
Knight.
find some way
Well
to
done.
cure my father
Now,
before it came
I have a
to
more pressing
this.
matter.
I
I've
still
received
believe that with a
reports
little
that
more
supplies
time,
have been
I
disappearing.
might have found some way to remove the artifact.
If so,
That's
It
what
doesn't matter
I will.
I don't understand why he was
Yes,
so
sir.
angry.
I expect
It
results.
was for his own good. Couldn't you see that? I always knew we shouldn't be using the serum. But who could resist such a temptation?
Jack still offers you Lorenzo's artifact gun, but instead of going back to the Insane Asylum to get it a week later, you just come back to the Cabot house a week later and get it directly from Jack Cabot. After all is said and done, no matter which ending you choose, Jack no longer needs your employment, and you are let go.
I don't
So
know
that
about
is the
Scribe
full
and
story
Riot.
of the Cabot House line of quests, but this leaves us with a moral conundrum. Which of these options is the right option? On one hand, Lorenzo is clearly psychotic. He has murdered and will murder more just to satiate his own desires. But on the other hand, Jack Cabot and his entire family are leeching, literally, off of the blood of their father to remain immortal forever. I believe that your moral choice ultimately comes down to whether or not we believe Jack Cabot is honest when he says that he's working to find a cure for his father. Repeatedly in his terminals, and when you talk to Jack Cabot, he talks about how much he loves his father, he misses his father, and he wishes he could find a cure. It's also clear that Emma Jean, at least at one time, truly enjoyed loved her father and is desperate for her brother Jack to find a cure. She clearly feels guilty using the mysterious serum, which is why she tried to give it up. Now, either all of this is just an act so that they can justify to their mother and to themselves keeping Lorenzo in a cage and taking his blood to keep themselves alive, or they are being absolutely genuine and they have to use the mysterious serum in order to stay alive so that they can find a cure. Because after all, if Jack does die from old age
Sergeant,
or for
let
any
me
other
guess.
reason,
Captain Kell sent you?
That's right.
Let's take this somewhere more.
Now, the only evidence for the opposing argument is from Lorenzo himself.
We've converted this section of the terminal into our primary supply.
But then again, as a murderous psychopath, he would. But there is also that final entry in Emma Jean's terminal where she herself questions her brother's motives for keeping Lorenzo locked up in that cage. We must also note that Wilhelmina, Lorenzo's wife, doesn't really seem all that bothered by her husband being locked up in the cage. Jack reminds Wilhelmina that it was actually her idea to use the serum to begin with. And whenever she does exhibit regret for locking up Lorenzo, she does so from a selfish perspective. She's more afraid of what Lorenzo will do to her
I've been in charge
if he
of
ever
this
gets
unit for
out,
almost
then
10
she is
years
upset
now.
about him being
We're a
locked
small
up to
group.
begin with.
We stick
And then we
together.
already know from
And
Emma
we
Jean's
keep the
terminal that
Brotherhood
as
running.
guilty as she is for using the serum, she's
Where should
tried
I
in the
begin my
past to give it up,
investigation?
but
You
she
shouldn't.
couldn't.
This
Which
is
means
a waste
she's
of
addicted,
time.
which means
I've already
she
spoken
might
with
do
my men.
anything to
They
keep
haven't
her
seen
father
anything.
imprisoned.
Tegan
I think you could go
Scribes
either
just
way with this. I don't
piled
think
up
there's
the
enough
books again.
evidence to point
If you
one way or the
insist
other.
on
So I would
questioning
make this
someone,
decision
go
based on the
bother
gear that you
Lucia
want,
or
the
Clark.
body count at the end of the day, or which argument you find to be most convincing. For me personally, I think it is more likely that Jack really
That's all for now,
has
Sergeant.
been
Take my
trying to find a
advice.
cure for his father
Poke around a
these
little.
past 400
Then
years.
tell the captain
After
to
all,
let it
he
go.
clearly thinks
It's not
that
worth
his
your
father
time.
Lorenzo was a genius and was really onto something with the ruins in Arabia. He respected his father. He wanted to collaborate with
We
his
hear about
father,
the
and
thefts,
he wanted
right?
his father to be able to
Well,
finally return
I'm
to the
conducting
site
this
to continue
investigation.
his excavations. I don't think
Tell me
that a
about the
man who
logistics
felt
unit.
that way
There
would
were
solely use
other
his
than this
father as a
one.
source for the
Lucia?
mysterious
Excuse
serum
me.
without actually
Lucia?
going out of his way
Excuse
to
me.
do his best
Night,
to find a cure. He also doesn't hesitate to kill his father, even though he knows
Night, Lucia.
that he
Cover
will be
wire.
ending his source of immortality by
Could you tell
doing
me where?
so
Oh,
when the
I'm
rest of
sorry.
the
I don't
world
think we've
is
met.
in
I'm
danger.
conducting an
By killing
investigation
his
into the missing
father, he's going to
Captain
die
appointed
someday.
an
He will no longer
Uh-huh.
be immortal because he can no longer produce
What's it
the
like working?
mysterious serum.
Uh-huh.
But
Yes,
he
son.
does so
What about
because he's
Clark?
more
We joined the
concerned about
Brotherhood around the
safety
same
of
time.
other
Why?
people in the Commonwealth
What happened?
who
It was,
he thinks his father will murder once he's released than
The
his
battle?
own
Battlefield.
immortality.
It was something.
That shows
We were
to
one of the
me
first.
that
It
being
was
immortal was
since
not
that.
the
Do you
highest
think you could?
priority. It wasn't
Maybe
a
it's
factor
nothing,
that
but
motivated him to put his father in prison. Then there's the ultimate body count. By siding with Jack
You
Cabot,
might want to
one
focus
man
on the
dies,
valuable
Lorenzo.
side. You'll
By
break your
siding with
back.
Lorenzo,
I heard that
3
Elder
or 4
Maxson
people
got that
die,
scar
either the
on
3
his
Cabot
face
family
from
members
going
and
one
Edward Deegan, or just the family members. Plus, anyone else Lorenzo decides to kill once
The
he's
Prydwen
released.
is a
So in my
magnificent
mind,
ship.
the most moral choice, the best choice, is to side with Jack and to kill Lorenzo. This prevents the deaths of the entire Cabot family and anyone else that Lorenzo just happens to kill because he wants to. This is a fascinating side quest in Fallout 4, and it's underappreciated by many unless you read the terminal entries and the handwritten logs found inside the Cabot House. They really create a 400-year-old history of this family and their exploits throughout time. As much as they gave us, I walked away wanting to know more about the ancient Arabian city, about this race of aliens who came to Earth before
what are you doing?
human time, about their amazing
I'm just out for a walk.
Don't sneak up behind me like... I'm gonna head back and...
Mm-hmm.
I prefer laser weapons myself. It's a cleaner shot. And leaves that memorable
Going in. Facilities.
I don't think we're alone.
Fun time incoming. Anything useful for us. Anyone got some holy water? That got the blood pumping.
By Ella Fitzgerald. The smooth sound of Diamond City Radio.
Commonwealth weaponry. It's a dangerous world out there. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Right Behind You, Baby by Ray Smith. Next.
Incoming. Say that.
In the event of an emergency, please use call box.
Don't know, but I think we're being watched. We're back in business. We live to fight another day. And night. And day. Etc. Don't mean to make you nervous, but... This is the part where you're supposed to die. There you are. They're probably long gone now.
For your safety, do not lean against doors.
Come on. Give it a try. There, that's it. Not too bad, is it? Easy now. Hang on. I'll get you some more. Huh? Who's there? You.
Clark.
What are you doing down here?
I was investigating the missing supplies. It looks like I found them.
Damn it! I thought I was being careful. Someone was bound to catch me eventually. I can't keep this up forever.
All this food. Have you been feeding these ferals?
Yes. It's been working, too.
What do you mean it's been working? Why are you doing this?
It's a long story. I had a friend who was a ghoul once. But the Brotherhood says ghoul.
No.
See? I joined the Brotherhood 2 years ago. In all that time, I never doubted our beliefs. But during the battle for the airport, ghouls, they started running away.
That's war.
They were just running away.
Sure.
After the battle. What could I do?
Right.
I thought, if I brought them food, do you think I did the right thing?
It was worth it.
That's what I thought. What are you gonna do about them?
I won't say.
As long as we can keep them here. And what about me?
Mm-hmm. You should turn.
I suppose so. The captain will never. Sure. I need a few minutes to get my thoughts together. Go on ahead. The elevator's in the next room. You can use my key code.
Uh-huh.
I heard something.
Hey.
Yeah?
It's a man. Now, folks, I'm sure you've all seen or heard about the latest issue of Public Occurrence. Some bold claims by our intrepid reporter. Since possibly living among us, undetected.
That wasn't in the script.
The mayor's office has, of course, issued a statement denying the validity of the article, saying all is well nigh secret. The mayor himself insists that the fears raised in the article are unfounded. But between you and me, listeners, I'm gonna keep my eyes open just to be on the safe side. Well, never a dull moment here at Diamond City Radio. Connie Allen's ready to take you on a trip you're bound to remember.
Lost them. So that's how it feels.
69.
Going up.
I got bored of fighting anyway.
Level.
Joining our cause.
Lucia?
If you need something, report to Sergeant Gavel. Not right now, please.
You've wasted enough of my time.
Sergeant Gavel.
If you're done here, clear out.
I love old world widgets. Worth a fair amount, too.
Can you believe synths are
Proctor Ingram?
Wow, things are off to a good start. Isn't that right, Doctor?
I hope so. Prime suffered some significant... The good news is that the damage isn't irreversible, and I should... If your people stay...
Sure.
Charm.
Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it. We might be... Besides,
Right.
we're working with one of Prime's original... In fact,
Never.
I'd be surprised. The actuator, Prime's new... We're gonna have to rip those out. What we need you to do is...
Now that you know what the actual... These are the plans and the materials left.
Now, before you get that... The only thing, according to Prime... We've already sent...
Once you start building the actuators, we need one for each... Good luck.
The Commonwealth's a dangerous. Make sure you gear up.
If someone builds defenses like that, they're going to do a damn good reason.
Hey, let me take... Take a look at you. See where it hurts.
Huh?
Hi.
Yeah? I'm sure I have something you need.
Sure. Let's take a look.
Let me know what you'd like.
I just want to trade a few things.
Sure.
You have some sort of medical problem here, or you just
I
might...
fixed up most of what's here myself, so it's all...
I'll take a look. Sure.
See something you like.
Mom runs this...
up. Travis and Lonely Miles here with the latest news update from the Commonwealth. This one sounds heavy. The Green Tech building lost
My duty shift was long.
Proctor Ingram.
All 4 actuators. Delivered and done. Nice work.
Right on schedule. I've completed the restoration of Prime's basic functions, and he's ready to go. In fact, it's getting difficult to explain to the system why it can't move right now.
Well, as soon as my scribes get those actuators...
Sure.
Which brings me to your next... It won't be long before Prime can walk and talk. Without them...
Shouldn't be a problem.
I wish I could. Prime's bomb... The Commonwealth. But since we arrived...
That's going to be a problem. Without a fully loaded nuke pack.
Uh-huh. Can I build...
I could build you 1,000 nuke casings. Right now. The Mark 28s have a specialized nuclear payload that requires the correct balance of fissile materials in order for them to... In other words, I'd love to make sure... But before you give up hope, there's actually... Proctor Quinlan has located some records regarding a military incident. We're fairly... The catch is that the installation is located...
I'll head out there and...
Good, because that's exactly... Scribe Halen's established a communication. I suggest you head out there. Hopefully, by the time you've returned. Good luck, Knight.
Being the director of the Institute is a serious commitment. I hope you understand that.